Okay, hi, I'm back, and I'm here to finish up the fourth step. We're going to finish the last inventory in the fourth step inventory, which is assets. And then we're going to do one more little piece. I'll put them both on the same video. And this is the end of step 4. Yay. So the inventory is clearly like an inventory. We're going to take stock of what we have. And so some of the things that we have that aren't working, we're going to write those down. We did that in the resentments and the fear inventory, the sex and harms inventory. And just like any inventory, there are always going to be some things that still do work, some things that do serve us. A lot of the things that we've outgrown, we've used coping mechanisms that we learned when we were young, and we don't need them anymore. They're not working anymore. A lot of that stuff came out in the fear inventory. And now we're going to do an assets inventory. And so I ask people to turn the page, start, skip a couple of pages and start a new page, write down the date, and then write down the step at the top of the page. And then we're going to do assets, 10 assets. You could look up the definition of assets and write that down. That would be helpful. But basically, we're going to ask to write down 10 assets, and 5 that you have to ask other people about, and 5 that you can come up with yourself. And so this makes people squirm. They don't like to do it, but it's a really powerful exercise to ask 5 different people for one thing each. And you have to ask. That's it. You just have to, ask them, could you please tell me one positive aspect of me that you believe? And then 5 things on your own. And that's pretty much it. It's easier said than done. And then the last piece of so that's it for that inventory. And then the last piece of this is we're going to do a relationship ideal. Now, in a back to basics step working class that I do, that I have the information that I got years and years ago from these guys up in North Jersey, that they put together this back to basics workshop. And it's a terrific workshop, and I'll probably end up doing it again because I've done it a number of times. And then this time I will videotape it and I will put it up on the YouTube channel because it's really a powerful way of going through the steps too. It's a different way. It's some of what I've learned that I've used in the way that I do it, and then just some really extra in-depth stuff that is really, really helpful if you really want to dive deep. And to tell you the truth, like, what's the point of doing this work if we're not going to dive deep? In the beginning, especially when people are trying to get sober, you want to get in, you want to get it done as fast as you can, just so that you can get to the part where I don't drink anymore. I don't have to do drugs anymore. Those are the important parts that I have to get out of the way before I can do any of the other work. So I really want to get that work done first. And then I want to go back in and I want to use these steps to work on the rest of my life. Like it says in step 12, practice these principles in all of my affairs. And I have some cleaning up to do. But first, I got to get rid of the things in the order that they're going to kill me. So if you're dealing with drinking or drugs, if you're dealing with, an addiction to things that are really harmful, then these are the things you want to deal with first. And then come back and work these steps again. Great steps, great steps, great steps. Great ways to get to where you want to go. So the last thing is the relationship ideal. I'm just going to read what I have here, and I'll put this PDF attached to the description in the video. And so in the videos, they have a drop-down box. It'll have like 1 or 2 lines under the description, and then it'll say see more, and you click on that, and it'll drop down, and the rest of the information will be there. And that's where the PDFs will be, and that's also where I'll ask you to consider making a donation through Venmo, or perhaps becoming a Patreon patron and helping me to keep going with this work. And I have to still get the stuff up there. I still haven't gotten that done yet, but I'm working on it. And it's still week 7, I think, of the coronavirus. So I mean, it's almost like I could track it by my hair. Anyway, I'm just going to read the relationship ideal here. And it says, now about sex, because it really is just about a relationship. So it's not just the physical act of sex, although that's some of it. And this is going to be out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that they're going to be reading some of this. Now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling there, but above all, we tried to be sensible on this question. It's so easy to get way off the track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes. Absurd extremes, perhaps. One set of voices cry that sex is the lust of our lower natures, a base necessity of procreation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we do not have enough of it or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter or the judge of anyone's sex conduct. We all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. What can we do about them? During and after the sex inventory, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subject each relation to this test. Is it selfish or not? We ask God to mold our ideals and help us to live up to them. We remember always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Counsel with persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice. To sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves the harder into helping others. We think of their needs and work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge, which basically means urgent, the imperious urge when to yield would mean heartache. And that's pages 68 to 70 out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And then it says, since it suggests that we come up with a future sex ideal, a relationship ideal, please use this form to develop one. For you, what would be the ultimate? What is usually included here are 1, ideal attributes and behaviors in ourselves that we would like to bring to a relationship. And number 2, ideal attributes and behaviors that we would look for in someone else that we might consider having a relationship with. And if you are currently in a relationship, number 2 would then become positive attributes and behaviors that my partner already has that I can appreciate and notice more. And number 3, attributes and behaviors that would describe what an ideal relationship would generally look like. Now, this is another place I get a lot of pushback. People say, well, I'm in a marriage already, or I don't want to get in a relationship again, or I'm older, or I'm too young, or whatever. This work we do, the willingness to do this work, is to just put down on paper what would work for us, what we would like. That doesn't mean that we're going to get it. That doesn't mean that we have to take it if it comes up. But it does offer to God the ability to be a part of a decision that God will make about our future relationship status, and will help us to form that relationship into being the best possible relationship for us. Because if God's involved in it, it's going to be good. It has to be. It has to be. It has to have that, it's going to have to be that person, myself, and God, to have a successful relationship. I'm talking about spiritual, healthy relationships. Now, if you're dealing with alcohol and drugs, you can bet that there's been some pretty crazy stuff in the past. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm just talking about the way that we treat other people, the way that we, like I was saying in the 4th step sex and harms inventory, sex is not just about the physical act. It's also about how I view my sexuality, how I use my sexuality, how I have hurt myself by, doing that, things that I wouldn't be proud of. And it's just about, using people is a big piece of that too. So this is where we're just going to talk about what would an ideal relationship look like. And we have to be willing to write it down. And eventually, when people start to let go of the fears that they have around relationships and the past experiences that they've had, they begin to allow themselves to dream a little bit. What would it look like? How would it feel to have somebody, even if it's somebody that you're currently with, but to be able to see the best in them, to be able to bring out the best in yourself, to become the person that you've always wanted to be. And let God direct my ways. That's what we're looking for. So this is the last part of the 4th step inventory. And if you've come this far with me and you've done the work, when you've done a really huge piece of work, and now comes the fun part. It sounds like it's really tough to say it out loud to somebody else, to admit it to yourself and to God. This is where I offer help if you need it and you need somebody to work with. You can get in touch with me. Also, I have to put that down in the description, is my Gmail, how to get in touch with me. And it's dive deep with the 12 steps at gmail.com. And you can reach me that way. But also, this is a great time to talk to a therapist, to a close friend, someone that you really trust, a priest, a pastor, somebody, that that can keep your confidence, a therapist, and your sponsor if you're in a 12-step program. I think that's it. This is the 4th step. This is the last pieces of it, and I hope that you'll come back and we'll talk about the 5th step. All right? I hope you have a good day. Bye.